Hello and welcome to another tropical update from the Cayman Hurricane Center, and I am Adam McDoom. Today we are talking about what was 95L, now newly upgraded to Tropical Storm Dawn. Earlier today, the Invest area was investigated by hurricane hunters, and when hurricane hunters flew in, they found themselves a fairly decent closed circulation and winds to support tropical storm intensity. That was earlier this evening. Now, the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center has Tropical Storm Dawn at 11.3 north, 54.6 west. It is moving west at 18. The pressure is down to 1,009 millibars. The winds are 45 miles per hour, with the wind radius at a fairly small 25 miles. This system is expected to continue towards the west and will be impacting the Windward Islands through Tuesday, late Tuesday, going into Tuesday night into the early hours of Wednesday. As such, there are watches and warnings in place, and just to quickly run them through with you, we do have tropical storm warnings issued for the islands of Grenada, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines. We also have tropical storm watches issued for Barbados and St. Lucia. So just running through with you here on the map, here, this beautiful satellite imagery we have of our tropical storm. So again, as per mentioned, St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Grenada are looking at tropical storm warnings. So these are those islands along here, and of course tropical storm watches issued for the islands of Barbados and St. Lucia, which are these islands here. And as mentioned, this is our tropical storm. Obviously, not as grand looking as it was earlier today with the convective cloud mass, the thunderstorms, as it is now terminal minimum, and usually when clouds sort of diminish a little bit. But we are making our way towards terminal maximum, which peaks at sunrise. We'd likely be seeing the convective buildup again through the late night and into the morning. But as you can see on your satellite imagery here, fairly decent organization with the low levels. We do have banding features that do extend into the system on the east side and through the north side and through the west side and through the south side. So it's pretty much covered on all sides. In terms of the convective mass, obviously, as mentioned, the main bulk of the activity at the moment remains within this area here, which is pretty much where the center circulation is. But also, there's now building up of convection on the south side of the system, as well as a few little flare-ups with a tropical wave, which is currently moving through the eastern Caribbean at the present time. There's also a few little pop-ups that is occurring around, and we'll be seeing much more of that as we head towards the peak of terminal maximum. And again, the forecast is to the west. Don't really have the forecast cone on me at the moment, but what and I will mention something about the forecast cone in just a sec, but just to give you a general idea of how the cone is generally shaping up, it is more or less as such as this over the coming days. It is expected to increase in intensity. I'll also explain a little bit more about that. Not to forget to mention our other area of interest here east of Dawn. This area will be moving on towards the west-northwest, likely missing the Caribbean, and development at this time is considered low. So, okay, I want to talk to you about the forecast, right? At the moment, the National Hurricane Center has the system probably shredding a little bit and possibly dissipating here. And this is what some of the forecast models have been saying. However, there's been some changes and there are other models as well to take note of. Now, National Hurricane Center had mentioned in their recent discussions that they're not sure on the intensity of the system, the future intensity of the system. It could be anything in the Caribbean from a open tropical wave to even as much as a hurricane in the Caribbean. So, with that being said, the other issue comes into play is the actual forecast track for the system. Will it open up into a tropical wave and dissipate in the eastern Caribbean, or will it become a hurricane and take its track through the Caribbean as long tracking Caribbean system? Okay, so first let's take a look at the forecast models with the tracks. This is the latest forecast models. Generally speaking, here is your official forecast track from the National Hurricane Center. And as you could see, it pretty much finishes off the system near the ABC Islands here. But as you can see, there are other models, and they are showing it continuing on throughout the Caribbean and could either go into Central America, Nicaragua, Honduras, or could go much further north and end up in either Jamaica, Haiti, Cuba, Cayman Islands, maybe even in a long range, possibly tempting its way into the Gulf of Mexico or the Yucatan, Belize. So at the present time, obviously the watches and warnings are out for the Eastern Caribbean here. Interest in the ABC Islands, Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao will need to also continue to monitor the situation, as this would be likely the next area to be impacted by this. And then depending on how the system goes forward, areas such as Haiti, Jamaica, Cuba, the Cayman Islands, Nicaragua, Honduras will need to also then keep an eye on how that goes. In terms of the intensity, right, so we'll look at some of the intensity forecasts now. This is the latest that goes with the forecast track models, as I've pointed out. And this is interesting. I find this very, very interesting. Now, this doesn't show a whole lot of the other models as well that should be on here. But again, this is the official track or the official model by the National Hurricane Center. The actual official forecast cone intensity going forward actually takes a little bit stronger before eventually weakening it going through the next 48, 72 hours. But another interesting thing is that, hey, look, we have all these other models that do take this thing into a strong tropical storm, even hurricane intensity, and there's even some taking it into a stronger hurricane. And there seems to be a lot more of the other intensity models taking it in that direction. So again, National Hurricane Center is currently playing a bit of a cautious game, iffy game. Will it? Will it not? We'll have to wait and see on that. Another way to look at this is on this graphic, and put credit where credit is due. This is from Levi Cowan's website, tropicaltibbets.com. Great guy. Knew Levi from when he was doing a lot of stuff on the Weather Underground, and he's gone on expanding out through his website, and really great content from his site. So here we go again, another version of the intensity guidance. And so there are a few of the models that take it relatively weak, but again, those are the few, and there are a few more that do again take it into the stronger categories and intensities going forward. So again, it's an iffy game that we all have to play. One of them that I do like to pay attention to is the green one, the ships model. And one thing I like about the ships is that in the text data, it gives you a whole lot of other details in terms of forecasting. What's the shear expected to be? What's the humidity expected to be? Sea surface temperatures, idea of rapid intensification, or percentages of possibility of rapid intensification, and so on and so forth. So that's one of them that I look at as well a little bit closely. And interestingly enough is that the ships does take it to quite a strong tropical storm within the next 24 hours, and then into Cat 1 intensity, medium range Cat 1, 72 hours, and going upwards. Could this be the case? Well, it could, and I'll mention what are the factors that are in play here in just a sec. So, okay, I'll bring up this map here. So basically what we have going is that we have two upper level lows, one located here and one located a little bit further out like so. And so these two upper levels are kind of causing a little bit of a pool of higher wind shear coming across the Caribbean here. And there is a bit of a broad upper level kind of anticyclonic spin going on across here as such. And this is why currently Dawn is in relatively low shear levels at this point. So how it looks is that the wind shear overall at present is fairly much low within this area here. So intensification through here seems quite okay. Now the pool of higher shear actually takes place in this area here. Interestingly enough, this pool has actually been shrinking a bit throughout the past day or two. Matter of fact, this pool had actually extended all the way up into this area here and even out into here, but now had shrunk down to pretty much just this pool here, and then obviously higher shear out here as well. If the upper level low continue, the two upper level lows here, which have been lifting northwards, continue to lift northwards, that will also help to ease up the upper level winds along here and bring the pool of higher shear further towards the north. And providing Dawn does continue to develop and ends up developing itself a very good upper level anticyclonic pattern, that it could possibly help Don to survive through the Caribbean. The other issue is that, again, with the surface high out here, you do have a bit of that trade winds going in here, and the change in trade winds as you get past the islands, it does cause a little bit of issues. That is kind of why the Eastern Caribbean here is sort of considered the dead zone or the graveyard for systems. But usually it would be the idea that if storms are relatively weak or not developed yet before they reach the islands, they could get killed off in this area, or at least not intensify further until they get to the Central and Western Caribbean. So there's that, and then of course there's the dry Saharan dust there, but luckily with the moisture field that Don has, it is somewhat protected. There is weaker cell along here, but again, that's further north and not really affecting much with the Caribbean. So we'll have to wait and see what goes on. As mentioned, these islands here will need to quite very much finish your preparations as soon as possible and get them done by tomorrow morning or about mid-morning, and prep yourselves ready for Dawn's arrival. And then after that, the ABC Islands here will need to then keep your eyes out for this system. And again, I'll be back with some more updates coming up. Also, probably we might do a bit of an event possibly tomorrow as Dawn makes its way towards the islands. So I will put out announcements for that if we will be going ahead, and we'll let you know what's going on with that. And then once this system reaches this region, then we'll have to see, okay, how strong is Dawn? How are the conditions out here? And also then determining whether this is going to indeed continue on and strengthen, or if it will peter out and just open back up to a light rain event due to tropical wave. We'll have to wait and see. So that's pretty much it. We won't really be talking too much about this until something really does pick up with this. Don't really see too much occurring with it, and either way, it will generally be making its way out to sea. So not really much of an issue for the Caribbean. So yeah, this is it for me on this tropical update. I'll be doing a few more tropical updates to come over the next few days. Again, guys in the islands, start prepping, keep a close eye on this, and I'll be back with you guys tomorrow.